Well, hello to my friends out there. This is episode 58. I'm a bit under the weather lately after surviving sinus surgery on the 7th and then a trip to the emergency room this past Monday, but I'm still alive. Anyway, I saw a portion of a segment on CBS This Morning a few weeks ago about these black sisters that climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And the first thought that came to mind was, I hope they had a beauty salon up there. You know how the sisters are about their hair, especially when they're going to be taking pictures and filming them in one of the most challenging climates on the planet. I know my wife is Hispanic with kinky hair. They don't mess around with their hair. If they don't have a licensed beautician on that mountain, it's going to be, oh, no, you didn't. So my wife and I see this ad on TV about a tiny homes community, and she says, maybe you should look into it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that would work out real well for us. We're both so tired of each other that we would have a difficult time getting along if we lived in different states. And our home is only 1,400 square feet, so that's way too small for us. I was thinking of buying a tool shed and living in it, but I kid, we love each other. And I once heard this quote, it's better to be unlucky in love than to be unlucky in court. Must be true. I am now absolutely convinced that I'm not drinking enough alcohol, which means that technically I'm not an alcoholic, but virtually and by heart, I am an alcoholic, if that makes sense. I'm a bit too disciplined in life to become one, and I'll be spending more time thinking about this, and maybe a cocktail will help. One of my many odd coincidences, and once again, Joni Mitchell comes into play. And lately, we've had a coyote that wanders around the neighborhood somewhat casually, and she doesn't show any aggressiveness, and she's always on the lookout naturally. And I happened to hear Joni's song titled Coyote on the radio later in the day, the same day. And of course, it's a great tune with a catchy vibe and complex lyrics about a potential relationship. So I Googled the song and found out that Joni's birthday was the next day. So somehow the neighborhood coyote triggered Joni's coyote song, and her birthday was the next day. I thought that was strange. I have no idea of what the odds of this happening would be. And I've always been a big fan of hers and found one of her quotes, and she states that everybody has a superficial side and a deep side, but this culture doesn't place much value on depth. We don't have shamans or soothsayers, and the depth isn't encouraged or understood. And depth isn't encouraged or understood. Surrounded by this shallow, glossy society, we develop a shallow side too, and we become attracted to fluff. That's reflected in the fact that this culture sets up an addiction to romance based on insecurity, the uncertainty of whether or not you're truly united with the object of your obsession is the rush people get hooked on. I was hip to what I was doing, and this is Joni speaking, not me. I recently read an article in Esquire magazine called The End of Sex that said something that struck me as very true. It said, if you want endless repetition, see a lot of different people. If you want infinite variety, stay with one. What happens when you date is you run all your best moves and tell all your best stories. And in a way, that routine is a method for falling in love with yourself over and over. You can't do that with a long-time mate because he or she knows all the old material. With a long relationship, things die, then are rekindled, and that shared process of rebirth deepens the love. It's hard work though, and a lot of people run at the first sign of trouble. You're with this person and suddenly you look like an asshole to them and they look like an asshole to you. It's unpleasant, but if you can get through it, you get closer and you learn a way of loving that's different from the neurotic love enshrined in movies. It's warmer and has more padding to it. And once again, Joni, thanks so much. True artist. I asked someone decades ago as to why they didn't like me, and he replied by saying, because I don't like you. Fair enough, I thought. No need to say anything else, and I wasn't going to change my ways with any details offered anyway. And I do tend to be a wisecracker when I'm out and about. I don't mind talking to strangers, and my wife doesn't really appreciate it. And I know that she's very tired of it, but I can't control myself. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I do it. It's because she has kind of shut me out, and I don't blame her. I am annoying, but this is the only recourse and contact I have with the outside world. So she is partially to blame for my irritating behavior, of course. An example being, we walk into a furniture store and three salespeople greet us, yeah, three of them greet us and ask us if we need any help. I say that we're looking for bedroom furniture, and Mary corrects me by saying, actually, we're more interested in living room furniture. Everyone hesitates for a couple of seconds, and I reply by saying, are we actually together? Or, I'm sorry, do I know you? It got a few chuckles, and surprisingly, Mary brushed it aside without her usual retorts, most likely because I was driving and she knows how much I hate shopping for anything. I find shopping totally exhausting, but we humans have to do it. There's no choice. And I will stop here.